Hi everyone, I'm Tiffany Franzoni with Roll to Play, and I have David over here next to me. I always say his last name wrong. David Dubb.
Down.
And we thought it'd be really interesting to bring to you a topic that has recently come up in our gaming industry, and this has to do with GenCon. GenCon recently wrote two letters. The first one was a pretty strong stance about a law that was recently passed in Indiana, giving businesses, I'm sorry.
See, if you want to be technical, they sent out the letter before the governor signed it into law.
That's right, because they were protesting. That's right, because
yes,
they wanted to protest against
which some people pointed out that it wasn't the strongest protest, or the letter wasn't as firmly or as angrily written as some people took it, because a lot of people are injecting their own feelings. But anyone with half bit of marketing side, they should know once you get your message out there, it's going to get a little bit of warped. And with some business,
does, yeah.
So you got to be very careful what you're going to say, and that's what we'll get into more about, the confusion on what they say and what they're really doing, and how it affects gamers.
Well, when I first read the letter, I was like, okay, this is really cool. They're protesting. They're really, they're really taking in consideration equality for gay and lesbian community and religious freedom, and they're keeping the doors open. There's no judgment, and I'm all about that. I'm a huge advocate of that myself. So I was
not
really
that Gen Con is going to have a problem with other people of different orientations from coming in.
Yeah, right.
They were doing the protest against this law, which would allow people with their religious beliefs, prevent those type of people, said they were making a stand for the community, for the people that may or may not be discriminating against them.
Right.
Where it gets complicated.
But they made it sound like they were going to leave Indiana.
Yeah, that was
what everybody else alluded to. I saw that all over the social medias when I saw my feeds. I was like, what? And that's what got my attention, because I'm like, yeah, in my backyard, bring it to Dallas.
But if you read the fine print, they go, oh, after our contract.
Oh, yeah, after their contract.
Which is 5 years, which, if you want to be cynical about it, the governor's gone in 5 years. I don't know how governor races go, but if they're terms or whatever, but I would be surprised if he'd still be there when they made their gesture. But
Right. That's a good point. So, and then they wrote a second letter. So
this was after the government and obviously other companies besides GenCon outside the gaming community made their threats, or their stances, if you will.
Right.
That if you sign this, we're leaving. And he went ahead and signed it.
Yes, he did.
And some folks like Salesforce.com, they're moving out
of Indiana completely, right?
Yes, yeah, which is a couple of $1 billion. And there's another company,
Indiana.
And Angie's, I think it's Angie's List, the company that you can, where you normally hire.
They're headquartered there?
They have a lot of business there.
Oh, I gotcha.
So they're pulling out too.
Wow.
And they were going to have a recent influx of money, and they're like canceled the plans. So.
Right, and there's been a lot of comparisons to Texas and Indiana having similar laws, but what is making this really interesting is that there's a difference between state law and federal law. And we were looking things up, and armchair experts that we are here, and there's already a federal law protecting the customer to go into businesses regardless of race, what they look like, sexuality, religion, all of those. They should be able to go into a business and shop.
Right, but part of the problem is first, it is a little bit, language is older, because that came from it was drafted in 1960.
Yeah.
So obviously they didn't know about the various sexual orientations and gender identification and so forth. Not saying they didn't exist in the 60s, but they weren't as a prevalent issue.
Right.
And because we were looking that up and figuring out, because there is this old, I don't know if it's a myth or understanding that companies or businesses like Tiffany have the right of refusal. Yeah. Like people have to put the sign out that goes, I have the right to refuse anyone. And that's where it gets interesting, because it's very gray.
It is gray. And I do have a right to refusal, but only if it's distracting to my other customers and to my business, or and if it's harmful.
Yes.
Right. So I thought that was really interesting, because there's certain situations where, like, I've been in the corporate world forever, and what I thought was discriminatory, I realized it was a distraction. Like one corporate headquarters I was at, that they had a policy against strong perfume. And if you had really strong perfume, you were asked to leave because it was distracting to the other employees, or if they had allergies. And part of that language included body odor too. And this has been going on all my corporate life. And I thought that was really interesting to read that about if it's distracting or harmful. And that's the only refusals a business really could legally do, unless you're in Texas or now Indiana. And now there's state laws letting businesses refuse on the basis of religion.
Which some religions do have.
We know that's a gray area.
Yes. Some religions, depending on how you interpret it, because now we're armchair legal experts and theologians.
I know. We don't know what we're doing, so please comment and clarify things if we have it wrong, because this is confusing. There's a lot of information out there, and it's so different from state to state. And the legalese is pretty heavy as well. But I'm sorry to interrupt.
No, but we're saying about some religions can be interpreted that it does not like certain sexual orientations. And again, those religions are so old, I don't think they could think about gender identification in some of the other classes too, which I find it all very interesting. It's like, how can you apply that to when they didn't know of it to apply it? But the issue we're going back to is at GenCon at first, they came out with a strong message, they're like, no, we're not for this. Hey, Governor, if you do this, we're out. We're taking our money and going, which I know for a good con, even one 10 times smaller than GenCon can bring in millions of dollars to the state. So who knows how much GenCon brings in. So their second letter,
big statement, and this is the part where it drives David totally nuts.
It drove a lot of people nuts. Now other people,
David,
more calm people. Yes, I'm not alone. I'm not the crackpot.
No, I know. No, you're not alone.
And their second letter is they go, he passed it. We're working with Indianapolis, which is a specific city. They stated the mayor did not agree with the state law, and they're working with the local businesses.
I like that part, though. That appealed to me, that they were trying to make a best out of a bad situation.
Yes, but if that letter was alone, if that was their stance, but they went from one stance to black and white, yay or nay, don't do it or we're gone, to okay, we're making the best of it.
We're going to work within the system.
Yeah, it was two very schizophrenic sort of things. And again, back to the marketing. You got to stay on message. And if you change messages, that's going to confuse people. It confused me, confused a lot of other people.
Oh, all my social media feeds were all over the place.
Yeah, I never advocated, because some people are like, oh, I'm never going to GenCon, I'm not doing that. I never said doing any of that. I was just like, whoa, guys, pick a message and stick with it.
Right.
Because if you want to be super technical, some of the things they used as cover was like, oh, well, we're in a contract, and we're going to be here for a while, and it would take years to move here or there. So I'm like, no.
Expensive. It would be an expensive.
Yes, they could do it any time. It would just cost them money.
Yeah.
And
that's the marketing piece that you're doing. I gotcha.
And that becomes a different sort of message. Are you more concerned about your stance against the bill, or are you worried about the money? And the business, you got to walk that fine line.
Yeah.
It's great and noble that you want to take a social stance, but like, say, if you took social stances with your business.
Yeah, I can't. I have to be very neutral about everything. Otherwise, it would kill my business.
Because I know some of your personal opinions, and you don't spread it to the soccer moms around here too badly. So it's a fine,
Positive gameplay. That's my personal opinion.
That is true. She's leaving out the other ones. Exclusion is not lying. So that was my big issue, is they go, hey, we're doing this. Crap, we didn't realize what we said. And I personally can relate to that, because with the internet and me, I do a lot of hot-headed going, I believe this. And then people are going, David, okay, on second thought, yeah, you should have not have to recant it. You should have thought about your position in the first place.
So that's how you're feeling about that first letter. You felt it was the emotional outburst of GenCon, the David that gets the hothead on the internet, and then they turn around, because it was a well-written letter. The second one was really well. I mean, it had a good flow.
Well, the first one was too.
Yeah, but it was a little.
You could, again. It's hard to say, because a lot of us were in the moment of people protesting it, so were we projecting emotion into it?
That's a good point.
But again, you should have known that if you were sending out the message in the first place. You knew that was a hot topic, because some of the more jaded people, and I didn't even suggest this because I'm pretty jaded, some people thought it was just a publicity ploy, which is pretty armchair cynicism there. I'm like, there's easier ways to, like, you go, oh, all, LGBT community, I think I said that wrong, can come in for, can come in for free or half off or something. That would have been more of a publicity ploy.
That's right. That's the other thing too. There is no law against giving discounts on age.
Yeah, that's what we found out, is you can't discriminate, because based on the federal law, you cannot refuse service based on that.
Give discounts. Oh,
you can
yeah.
discounts, all day long. So if I want to give discounts to everyone named David.
Yeah, you could do that.
Awesome.
I think even scholarships fit into that too.
Yeah.
You have to fit in the category. But these are all really interesting topics, and we're going to be following this pretty closely to see how it ends up. And we all know that GenCon's not moving. It's too much of a juggernaut, and I think the local businesses are going to.
See, and I argue it could move because Indianapolis,
really? Yeah,
Indianapolis is not a huge town. They're limited by
it's geared for conventions. Everything is geared for conventions. Look at
it this way: if they're complaining, oh, it takes us 5 years to get out of the contract. Oh, 10 years down the line, it will take us to vet a new city. 5-10 years, the infrastructure on a city growing that takes you long. 5-10 years is how long you take to redo a road.
You can break contracts and
but what I'm saying,
get into a new contract with a new contract with the new state, and the state would help offset some of the cost of breaking those contracts to bring it as part of the proposal.
What I'm also saying is they're being short-sighted, that they could, in theory, grow their business, they move, and they can do it with good PR and with tax break. They could have spun that.
They could, if they were really serious.
And I think they just, and obviously any smart business person would not want to have to just break that. But you all of a sudden go, I'm leaving Texas. I am now doing it in Arkansas.
No,
you just set up a role to play in Arkansas.
No, because it took me so long to develop a base before I even established a location. I get all that.
And I just want to say it real quick, that is the problem with the internet, is all us armchair guys sitting here. We're not running GenCon.
Armchair.
Check this. I can move GenCon everywhere I want because I'm not actually moving it.
Yeah.
It's all figuratively on the internet.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Sorry, you were saying.
No, I'm just really curious as to what they're going to do over the next few years. I mean, I really don't know.
You want and this is my real cynicism. You want to think.
Oh, less cynicism.
Is obviously they're going to do what the second letter says. They're going to work with everyone. They're going to wait and see how it plays out, and wait for it to blow over, and not going to do much. I mean, yes.
Yeah, I don't think they're going to do much either.
Yes, obviously they're going to prevent discrimination as best they can and all that. They're not going to all of a sudden take a very discriminatory stance.
No,
but what?
Yeah, they're going to promote equality.
Yeah, but obviously that tone and message of the first letter is just going to go away.
Yeah, I agree.
Which, it's their right to do and all that, and that's what people forget on the internet, is that entitlement and all, and that's why we're doing the videos. We're trying to be calm because I know we had one person out here in the role to play HQ that really wanted to explain about how the law was.
Yeah, we did use cuss words.
Yeah,
so we didn't. But
which is his right to have too. It's just
right. Well, I think GenCon's going to watch things. I think things are too new for them to really make a judgment call. So all their strong opinions of what they were going to do in the first letter, I agree with you. I think that's faded. I think that was an emotional outburst.
But it's still out there because the internet never.
Well, yes, everybody's going to refer to that. But the second letter, I think, was the more mature response. And I know you don't like that there was such a different. It was like Dr. Heckle and Mr. Hyde.
Mm-hmm.
But I think the more mature one, they're going to wait and see. They're going to see how it goes, and they're going to weigh out all the pros and cons. I'm sure that there's a whole committee of people that are discussing it and watching it. I don't think there's any decisions to be made now. We have to see how it's going to go with Indiana. Yeah. It's going to be real interesting the next year, the next 2 years, and then when this state councilman guy, whatever guy,
the governor, because you're forgetting it got through their
politics, but
they got through their state.
What's his term? How long is his term?
I don't know how long governor.
Yeah, I think once he's out of office, I think things might change again.
But you got to remember,
it's ridiculous to go backwards.
Tiffany, it went through their House and their Senate. So
I know. I don't get that. It happened here in Texas too.
It's not just one guy, and that's where we don't want to get into the details because
I don't know.
Our law is worded a little bit differently than theirs, and I think Illinois has a different one, and that we're not legal scholars.
I'm not smart enough for that.
Yeah, but apparently the Indiana one, from our impression, yes, feel free to use the comments down below, whatever, to explain how the Indiana one is more draconic or what have you. But that's been our understanding. But obviously, understanding is a big thing, because like we understood GenCon was going to leave.
And now
Leave
they're
is
not.
free. They're going to,
They're not.
you
Not for a
know,
while.
leave from the desert, like some biblical reference or something. But no.
Well, cool.
So and so at the end, my takeaway is I'm a little disappointed. You know, and yes, I understood it's very unrealistic, but then they went to the safest, softest way. I still feel there could have been some middle ground.
Yeah, you wanted them to have a stronger stance.
Yes.
That would have been more exciting and more supportive of really standing their ground of social issues.
Especially with bigger companies, with obviously they had more money so they could lose more money since other people were doing it. And they were, I'm just disappointed that the impression I was giving did not get fulfilled. Yeah.
It's going to be interesting to see how many other businesses take stance that don't really make any kind of impact. I've already read and seen a few of that happening. But as the dust settles and things shake out, I'll be watching. We'll all be watching.
Yeah.
We'll all be watching.
Especially since we're nerds. In GenCon's case, we'll be watching.
Especially GenCon. Well, thanks, you guys. I look forward to hearing your opinions. And I think Dave and I will be doing a few more commentaries like this. It's a great banter we have.
Yes.
So,
it's not arguments, apparently.
No, it's not arguments. I won't let him say that. It's a discussion. I don't know how to stop this. 1 sec.
You hit the stop broadcast. I
know.
Yeah.
I have this mouse. Oh, David. Here we go.